Today we're going to talk about the Campstove 2 Plus from Biolite. It's a wood-burning stove that's packed full of a ton of unique features. Let's see if it's right for you. Hey everybody, my name is Ben and I'm part of the team here at the Adventure Junkies. We help people like you find and choose the right gear to get you outdoors. If you'd like to learn more, visit our website at www.theadventurejunkies.com. Now, on to what you're really here for, the Biolite Campstove 2 Plus. Alright, now let's check out what's inside the box. Okay, this is the fire starter that Biolite sends with the stove. So this is the USB powered flex light that plugs into the stove and can help light up your camp. A USB cable. And last but not least, actually not last but not least. So this is the main stove burner unit. And then this is what makes the Biolite really unique. This is the fan, as well as your power supply. And it nests inside there really nicely. That's great. And then two stuff sacks. One for the burner unit and one for the power supply. The Campstove 2 Plus retails for $149.95. And that's for everything you see here. They do offer a camp kitchen and grill attachment, and for that entire kit you'd be looking at $239.95. While this definitely isn't the smallest camp stove I've ever seen, it is nice that the power supply nests inside the grill. I'd say this is about the size of a 32-ounce wide mouth water bottle, so not huge but not small either. It weighs altogether it weighs about 2 pounds, which is like 935 grams. So while this does have a few more bells and whistles than you normally associate with a backpacking stove, setup is really simple. You just insert the rod on the power supply into the back of the burner. And you extend the legs on the bottom, and this third leg there, that's what locks the power supply in place. So it's really sturdy, and as a wood-burning stove, it has to be really sturdy. So the Campstove 2 Plus does not have any kind of igniter. As a wood-burning stove, though, it does come with 9 fire starters. Now, these are perforated in here. I assume you could cut these in half and have them last a little longer. And you can also use pine needles, your own fire starter, you name it. But you will need to carry a lighter with you if you want to start the stove. So on the front of the power supply here, you have 3 rows of LED lights. On the left, that indicates your fire strength, how hot the fire is burning. On the far right, that's how much battery power is left in the power supply. And in the center, that's fan speed. The cool thing about this power supply is not only is it charged by the heat that's generated from the stove, you can actually take this off and use it as a standalone power supply at camp. So you can take it off the stove at the end of the night and take it into your tent with you and charge your phone. One really cool thing about this stove, because it's so stable and because it has such a large circumference at the top, you can use larger pots and pans, which makes it a good option if you're cooking for more than just 1 or 2 people. The Campstove 2 Plus uses biomass as fuel. That means sticks, pine needles. Biolite also sells pellets if you'd rather use pellets. Biolite does recommend using harder woods because they burn hotter and longer. However, here in Colorado, right now, we are in a ponderosa forest. And pine is a soft wood. That's what we have, so that's what we'll make our fire out of. So the Biolite Flex Light that's included in the box with this stove is really pretty handy if you're cooking at camp. You just plug it into the front of the power supply here, and it's really flexy but also rigid, so you can kind of point it wherever you need to, and can come in handy at camp. Just plug it in here, and then turn on the power supply. Voila! Alright, so let's go ahead and do a quick demo of the Biolite Campstove 2 Plus. First we're going to need to gather some fuel. Again, as we've said, this is a wood burning stove, so we're just going to grab some nice dry sticks that are laying around. You don't want to do too long. You don't want to overpack this stove. You want the sticks sitting below the rim of the stove itself. So basically we're going to attach these two pieces, come together like this, and to lock them in place you just extend the bottom stand here, and this middle one locks it in place. Alright, so we're going to load the fuel chamber here. Again, not packing it too tight, allowing nice airflow and not packing it too high. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and break off a chunk of this fire starter that was included in the package with the stove. You can use any kind of fire starter you want with this stove, but the ones they include work really well. So go ahead and use our lighter and light up the fire starter. Alright, looks like we got a flame already. Assuming you have nice dry wood, this stove is actually really easy to get lit. Just going to put in some finer brush and stuff here to help it along. And just a quick reminder, if you find yourself enjoying this video, please hit the like button and share button so more people like you can find it. Alright, so as you're lighting this stove, you might find that maybe the sticks that you put in here aren't quite burning like you want them to, or if you're in a hurry. Say the fire dies down, a really cool feature about this is you just turn the fan on here, and what this fan's going to do is it's going to help circulate air through the canister and really help your fire either get started, or if it's already burning, it'll burn more quickly and it'll burn hotter with this fan on. And if you have a good fire, this fan does come on automatically, and it also turns off automatically, but it has a manual function as well, and the button's right on the front. And as you'll notice, it is a little noisy. As you can see, the fan has really helped this fire, and it's already starting to burn hotter. Now, the Biolite is supposed to produce a smoke-free fire, and first impressions here, this is a smoky fire. So we'll see as the fire gets hotter if it gets better. And this is very dry wood that we're burning here.
I'll let it boil.
Okay, so just to sort of wrap things up here with the Biolite Campstove 2 Plus, I think this is a really cool piece of outdoor gear, and it's definitely unique, and it definitely has some features that you will not find in other camp stoves. Again, this is a wood-burning stove, so biomass. The onboard battery pack can function as a standalone battery pack if you need to charge your phone in your tent at night, and it also charges from the fire. You can plug it in at home and charge it, or your fire will actually charge the battery pack. I think that's really cool. Retails for $149.95, and that's about another $90 if you want to buy their additional cook kit. But this is a really cool piece of gear. I think the price point is pretty on par with what you would expect. We got a boil in about 4.5 minutes, which for a wood fire I think is excellent. You can control the boil and burn with your fan speed on the onboard battery pack. I will say a simmer is going to be a little harder on a wood fire than maybe on other canister stoves. So cooking could be a little interesting. You'll need to be careful about what cookware you use, because you're going to get a soot buildup on the bottom of that cookware. And you just need to make sure that whatever cookware you use can withstand the heat of the fire. Last night we had a fire burning in this, and it took about 5 minutes to cool off to the point where I could touch it, and about 10 minutes to the point where I could actually pack it away. I wouldn't pack it away until it's completely cold. The other thing with this stove is that because it's a wood-burning fire, you need to let it burn completely out or drown the ashes completely with water, because you could start a fire, obviously. And that's going to take more time, more finesse than some other canister stoves out there. In terms of noise, you hear the fan. I wouldn't say it's necessarily louder than other canister stoves, but because the fan is going to run almost 100% of the time unless you specifically turn it off, you definitely hear that little whine in the background. A really cool thing about this is that it actually puts off heat, so if you're camping in cold weather, I think this could be a really cool piece of gear. In terms of downsides, one person's downside is another person's upside with this stove. It's wood burning, it puts off heat, that's great. For some people, this is just going to be too much hassle to deal with on the trail. It's definitely a stove. You're going to have to pick and choose your situations on when you want to use it. In terms of pack size, the whole unit comes with 2 stuff sacks. So you can stuff the onboard battery in its own sack and put it inside the burn chamber here. And that's to keep soot off the onboard battery, because obviously with a wood burning fire, the burn chamber is going to collect soot and ash, and it's just going to be kind of hard to clean. Once you pack the onboard battery inside the burn chamber and fold the legs in, you're looking at the size of about a 32-ounce wide mouth water bottle, which is going to be larger than most canister stoves you've seen, but honestly smaller than I would expect. Obviously, something else that could be seen as a downside is the fact that you always have to fuel the fire. I think for the amount of fuel you put in there, you get a lot of heat and a lot of burn life. Again, Biolite recommends using hardwoods. They burn hotter, they burn longer. I'm in a ponderosa forest in Colorado at 8,000 feet. I've got pine, pine, and pine. That's a soft wood. It's just what I have. But honestly, it seems to burn pretty well. I don't feel myself having to feed the fire too often. Something else that might bother people is this is supposed to be a smokeless fire, and that's because of the fan blowing air through the bottom of the unit. As you can see right now, because my fire got low and I had to add more wood, you get some smoke. So it's not 100% smoke-free unless the fire is actually burning. If you find yourself getting smoke when you add more fuel, you can actually adjust the fan speed by clicking the power button, and you'll hear it get a little noisier. But that should kickstart the fire here in a second. Now, as you can see, because I let my fire get a little low and now I'm trying to build it back up, I've got a lot of smoke coming out of the unit. It doesn't necessarily bother me, and it won't necessarily bother a lot of people, but it is something you'll need to be aware of. Something I really like is that they include 9 fire starters in the package. I've been breaking them in half. I don't think you need to use an entire fire starter unless you're using really wet wood. And there we go. Now you can see the fire's roaring again. The smoke goes away. You know, with a little finesse, you'll be able to know when the fire is getting low and when to add more wood to avoid that smoke buildup. So now that it's burning really hot, I'm going to turn the fan down back to the first speed. I really like the LEDs on the front of the onboard battery. It's super helpful. When I took this out of the box, it was showing 1 LED lit for power available, and then by the end of my first fire, the battery had completely charged. I think that's super cool. I think making use of the energy you're burning and creating is super innovative. It's a really cool feature. I think the Campstove 2 Plus would be best used in front country camping situations, car camping, only due to its size, but I also think you could take this backpacking. I mean, if you have an activity tracker, smartwatch, cell phone you want to keep charged and you're hiking for, say, 2 weeks at a time and you don't want to carry fuel, I think this could be a really cool option. I'd say due to the size of it and the heat that it actually puts out, You could cook for 3 to 4 people with this pretty comfortably. And last but not least, I know this might seem obvious, but never leave your Camp Stove 2 Plus unattended while there's a fire burning inside. You're going to want to let that fire burn completely out until it's cool to the touch before you let the stove leave your sight. That being said, I think this is a great little unit with a lot of features, and I think you will too. I'll see you next time. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you don't know what gear to bring hiking, or maybe you've just wasted money on the wrong gear in the past, then you definitely need to get a copy of this book. It's called The Beginner's Guide to Hiking Gear, and we've created it with the total beginner in mind. It'll help you learn what gear you need versus what gear is just nice to have versus what gear you don't need. It covers everything you need to know, including how to choose each item and specific product recommendations based on your budget, gender, hiking destination, and more. You can pick it up on Amazon, and it's available in paperback and for the Kindle. Check out the link in the description below. Happy hiking!